Hey guys, and welcome to the video. So I wanted to do a video telling you the truth about these splitters. I'm not sponsored by Eastonmade in any sort of way. I didn't buy this machine from Eastonmade. He didn't give it to me. I bought it used. I have no relation to them at all. So I want to give you some unbiased opinions, I guess. So I bought this splitter about 6 months ago. Bought it in June of 2022. I had been on the splitter hunt for quite a while. When we started splitting wood, we just had a brute. It was just a single wedge. It was slow. We quickly realized, hey, firewood sells. We can sell as much firewood as we can make. Let's get a better splitter. Originally on my radar, I wanted an Eastonmade Ultra. They were cheap, 4-way wedge, real quick. When I say cheap, they're not cheap, but compared to other models, they definitely were cheaper. So wanted one of those. I looked at some Timberwolf, some brute force Wolfridge. Yeah, we looked at those. They were okay, but no brand really stuck out like the Eastonmade brand. When I looked at Eastonmade, like when I watched their videos compared to when I watched people making videos with their products compared to other products, they just seemed like they were faster, they were better, they were stronger. They just seemed like they were the one to buy. So I knew I wanted an Eastonmade. I didn't want to wait 14 to 16 months, so I took the Eastonmade Ultra idea, threw it out the window, buried it, and I just figured we'll just keep using the brute until something pops up or something changes, or you never know what's going to happen. So I just kind of live every day by the seat of my pants. Last June, I was on Marketplace or scrolling through Facebook, or I think I searched on Facebook, Eastonmade log splitter for sale, and one popped up like 15 miles from me, and it had been posted for like 2 months, and I'm like, is this even still available? I messaged him. Yep, it was definitely available. So I went there, looked at it. It was the first time I'd ever seen one in person. So I'd seen plenty of videos of them, but I had no idea like what it actually looked like, you know. So we agreed on a price. It was basically the new price, but I didn't have to pay shipping and I didn't have to wait on it or anything. So it was totally worth it. He probably used it maybe 10 to 20 hours. He split wood one winter for his boiler with it, and If you're splitting boiler wood with this thing, it is extremely fast. You can probably make enough wood for your boiler in about, if you have enough people, probably about 5 to 10 hours, and it'll push off a lot of wood, especially boiler wood that you don't have to resplit, and that's big. So he made wood with it for 1 year, and he finally decided, it's too much for what I need. It costs a lot of money. If somebody else wants to enjoy it, they can. So I bought it. I knew we needed a better splitter, and this was available, so that's honestly why I got it. I didn't plan on getting an Eastonmade 1222. It was out of my price range, but you know how it goes. If you see something in person, you can get it that day and start running it, you're more likely to buy it than waiting on it for 14 months and kind of stewing on the decision, So this unit came with 3 different wedges. It came with the 4-way wedge, the 6-way wedge, and the box wedge. The 4-way wedge is definitely my favorite wedge. It is so versatile. You can slice and dice the pieces just how you want. You can do big wood, small wood. You kind of dictate how it splits. The 6-way wedge is really good and very productive if you're running perfect 6-way wood. If you're running wood that's too big for a 6-way wedge, I don't like it as much because it makes 6 pieces that are too big, and then you have to resplit every piece individually through the bottom of the 6-way wedge, like raise it all the way up and just single knife it. So if you got the perfect 6-way wedge, that 6-way wedge wood, the 6-way is perfect. If not, the 4-way, you can run small wood through it, perfect 4-way splits, or you can run big wood through it, split the two, like split it into 4 big pieces, and then split those each 4 big pieces into 4-way pieces, and it makes it nice. The box wedge is definitely a love or hate. If you run the right wood through it, you're gonna love it. If you run the wrong wood through it, you're gonna hate it. And what I mean by that, guys, is if you run nice straight grain wood through this thing, box wedge works amazing. Me personally, the only time I use the box wedge is if it's probably 20 to 30 inches in diameter. Anything smaller, I'm going to use the 4-way wedge just because I think it's easier to be more precise with the 4-way wedge. The 4-way wedge makes less trash. You can just slice and dice it. And if I get off the 20-inch wood and I go down to some 12s, then that's perfect for a 4-way wedge. Using the box wedge on small wood, it's not as productive. The box wedge, for it to be productive, needs to spit out 5 or 6 pieces or however many it does every time. You can't just, which you can. The box wedge is not going to be productive and put out a ton of wood if you're just putting out 1 piece every time because you're only going through the center. Whereas if you use what I'm saying is in comparison to the 4-way wedge, if you're running small wood, the box wedge is not the way to go. Use the right wedge. However, if you're running big pieces like 20 to 30 inch, 36 inch diameter, the box wedge is 100% the way to go. If it's straight grain, if it's knotted and twisted, it will not push through. I've got some big oak rounds that I split, and one of them I believe had a knot in it, and I tried every different wedge setting up and down. I rotated it. This thing would not push through that thing. I ended up having to roll it back off, cut it into 4 pieces with the chainsaw, and then kind of depict it, spin it around the knot. But if you've got good straight grain wood to go through this box wedge, it does a really nice job. It'll full power through. It doesn't really struggle. I even split some smaller cherry through it that was probably only 16 to 18 inches in diameter, but it was super twisted, nasty stuff, and it did not like it at all. I'd much rather use the 4-way on that kind of stuff. Aside from it being slower because it's really struggling to push through the box wedge when you run nasty and twisted wood, it really just bows that wedge all over. And I don't know, maybe the manufacturer will tell you that that's normal and it can withstand it, and it probably can. But me personally, I don't want to break my splitter. I don't want to bend it up. I want this thing to last as long as I can. So therefore, I'm going to run the right wedge. So this unit features big old push plate here. It has like a 5-second cycle time. It's quick, very quick. I recently watched Hardworking Man's video at Hardworking Man. He bought one of these things used, and it looks like it's been used, like it's not all beat up, but like the paint's worn off. Like you could tell somebody pushed a lot of wood through that thing, and it's still super quick. I think he said that the pusher plate's never been replaced. It had like 400 hours on it. Not the pusher plate, the wear plate. It's never been replaced on it. But watching that, like his 1222 compared to some of the competitors, like side by side, it's quick. It When you use it all the time, you don't realize like, oh, like I'm so accustomed to a 5 second cycle time now that I don't really realize how much slower 8 or 10 seconds is compared to 5 seconds. And when you watch his video, go check it out. When you watch his video and you see the two, it really puts into perspective of how quick this thing is, and even under load when it's pushing wood, how quick it is. So 5 second cycle time, big old push plate here. One of my favorite features about this splitter is the log cradle. A lot of other splitters comparable to this don't have a log cradle. They just have the I-beam, and you've got to hold the wood there to center it through your wedge. The cradle holds it right where you want it, and you can hit the auto cycle, walk away, and you know it's going to go exactly right where you want it through there. So that's a really good feature. Now the log lift. Man, I tell you what, the log lift is not something I thought I needed, but I could not go without it because it saves your back so much. It obviously works great as a log lift. I have not found the limit of what that thing can lift up. I've put some huge stuff on there, never had an issue. It works great for staging wood. Overall, the log lift is a must-have. This unit has an oil cooler. I also noticed the 916s right below this. They say they're like the same splitter, but they don't have an oil cooler. It has 14 horse Vanguard engine, starts right up, has electric start, real nice. This unit has a towable from the front or the back. Now, I have read and heard people talk about that these things are super unstable to pull. Don't pull one of these down the road. It'll end up in the ditch. That's all false. It's all, if you drive like an idiot, you go 50 miles an hour over some train tracks, yeah, it's probably going to take flight. But you drive with some sense. If you see a giant bump or some railroad tracks, slow down. You're not going to have an issue. I would definitely not tow this thing from the back down the road. It is really tongue heavy. But I've towed this thing. I try to go 55 miles an hour with it, but the speedometer in my truck is off because it's got 35-inch tires. And I didn't realize that till a few weeks ago. It never occurred to me. But I've definitely towed this thing 70 miles an hour before, not knowing it. Not a single issue. Like I said, don't drive like a dummy. Don't go over railroad tracks super fast, and it won't become airborne or anything. When you tow it with the four-way wedge on there, or you have the four-way wedge on the front, I can lift up the tongue and move it around my shop or where I need to go. It's heavy, but it's not like unbearable. With that box wedge on there, to me, I'm not a super big muscular guy, but it's unbearable. I can't really move it around without that. But with the box wedge and arm on here, that thing adds a ton of weight. So I don't think I've ever towed it down the road with the box wedge, but it definitely would tow a lot nicer with the box wedge as far as how bouncy it is and the tongue weight of it. With the four-way, it's fine. I wouldn't hesitate towing it. Like, I'd take it on a pretty long road trip. I'd probably rather throw it on a trailer, but if somebody said that I had to take it 4 or 5 hours away and it was highway, and I'd probably do it. It seems safe. So you can tow it from either way. I usually just tow it from the front. If you tow it from the back, you really have to have something with down pressure or something that's not going to float. What I'm talking about is if I hook it to my 3-point hitch, which doesn't have any weight on it, it won't hold it down. The nose is really heavy, so I can't dictate the nose with a 3-point hitch. I did have a weight box on my tractor at one time, and it was like 500 pounds or something. And with that, I could dictate the nose by lowering and raising the 3-point hitch. But I can't anymore because I took it off. So I can't say there's anything I dislike about this. There's not really any improvements I would do to it. The thing works really well. It's built really well. I have no doubt in my mind that this thing is going to last the test of time. And just everything he built on this, there's a lot of places he could have skimped and maybe made steel thinner or a weld shorter. He didn't really skimp. There's no real place he skimped. just looking at it, like I said, there's a lot of things he could have made this log table out of a lot thinner steel. I mean, this is some thick stuff. He could have made it out of a lot thinner steel. He built it heavy duty. This push plate, he probably could have made it smaller. There's a lot of things he could have done to lessen the cost, but he built a really good unit. So guys, quick walk around. This is the hitch. It comes out real easy. Has this nice aluminum log table on it. And for reference, this is how high the log table is. I'm like 5'8", and it's about at my knees right there. So not super tall, not super low. I guess if I could change anything, maybe I'd make the log table a little bit taller, but in turn, then it probably makes the whole splitter taller. It's okay. Comes with this nice jack that flips up. It has feet, so this thing is very stable. Those come up. The cylinder wedge, the wedge, you lower this ram here, it pulls out and it lowers the wedge, and then it unhooks the wedge, which is a really nice feature. That way, when you're splitting, the wedge can't come up and down. It's locked. Some other splitters don't do that. They're kind of floating junk. So he put some nice tires and wheels on there, heavy duty. This thing does weigh 2,200 pounds. Good old Vanguard on there. It has a decent sized gas tank, maybe 1.5 gallons, so not a ton, but by the time you're out of gas, you're usually ready for a break anyways. The log lift on it is really nice. It flips up, and it's dirty, but it's not connected. I really like that. That way it can flip up, or if you drop it down, then it can't pinch your feet or anything because there's not down pressure on it. Big tank of oil. Huge hydraulic cylinder. Put my hand on that for reference. It's big. Yeah, it's a lot bigger than a lot of cylinders. So overall, guys, I would definitely recommend this splitter. I think it's for the class that it's in. I think it's one of the better splitters. Maybe the best. It's whatever you like, whatever fits your needs the best. For my needs, the firewood we make, it's the best splitter for us. I don't make bundles, so if I was making bundles, I'd probably want an axis or a split force, something with a single way wedge. I make heating wood, I make bulk firewood. I'm not looking for, perfect 4x4 pieces, which the box wedge will make that, but if I was doing bundle wood, I probably wouldn't want to use the box wedge. I'd want to make it look nicer and use an axis or something, like an Eastonmade axis. So for what we use it for, the versatility of it, it sets up really easy. It moves around really easy. I've towed this thing all over. We've used it at several people's places. It works good. It's very mobile. Like I said, I would definitely buy it again. It was the perfect splitter that I needed. I didn't know it until I got it. I didn't know what I needed because I'd never used any of them. So, and maybe this is a biased review because I've never used any other splitter, but after having this and then seeing some of the other splitters, I really do enjoy the splitter. I've said this before, especially with expensive pieces of equipment. If something I buy is junk and I don't like it and I think something else is better, I'll sell it in a heartbeat and get something else. I've never thought about selling the splitter. I probably won't ever sell the splitter. It's a unit, absolute unit. I think if you bought this splitter, you'd definitely be satisfied with it. It is a price tag to swallow, but at the same time, it is something that if you're making firewood with, you can make a ton. And if you're selling firewood, then you got a ton to sell. Or if you, let's say you had a wood boiler or you split firewood for yourself, like a lot of firewood, if you split like a cord a year, you're probably not buying this. But let's say you got a boiler and you're going to split 10 cords a year for the next 20 years. This thing is going to save you a ton of time. And costs money, but time is money. You can always make more money by saving time and going to work and making more money, or however you want to do it. Whatever. Also, one thing I haven't talked about yet, and you're probably wondering, how much wood will this make? How quickly? So it's a very loaded question. All depends on how many people you have with it and what size of wood you're running. There's been a few times we've kind of tracked, we have an idea of what it'll make generally. My general consensus is with one person feeding it and one person stacking or getting the wood away from the splitter, I would say you can guarantee you can make a face cord in 15 minutes, no doubt. That's kind of what I always base my times off of. Recently, a few videos back, we had 3 people running it. We had one person keeping this wedge moving, the ram moving. I don't think it rarely stopped. It was back and forth the whole time, running 100% fast as it could. We were just running 4-way wood with a 4-way wedge, and we could make a face cord in 6 minutes. That was one person bringing it, one person running the splitter, and one person stacking it. So a face cord in 6 minutes, which means a full cord in 18 minutes. So a full cord in 20 minutes. So 1 cord in 20 minutes, 3 cords in an hour. It's a lot of wood it can make. With the box wedge, I don't really have a production number on that because that all depends how good the wood you're running is. If it's stringy wood or it's small wood, like if it's stringy wood and it's slowing the wedge down, then that's going to slow you down. If it's small wood and you're only getting 2 pieces out or 3 pieces out, that's going to slow you down if you're only putting 3 pieces out. If it's good straight grain wood and it's big, like we had some 36, probably 30 to 36 inch ash pieces on here, and it was straight grain wood. It pushed back and forth so nicely. We had 2 people stacking, and it was all we could do to just keep grabbing 7, 8 pieces off that thing at a time and stacking them. Couldn't keep up because it was just back and forth, just every 5-10 seconds spitting out 5 to 7 pieces. I don't know how long that takes. It's probably pretty quick. I think the maximum amount of wood you could do with this, I think the limit is probably if you ran perfect 6-way wood and you made 6 pieces. I bet you could get a face cord done in 4 to 5 minutes. The only other scenario, we just did this last week and we didn't film it. We should have filmed it, and maybe next time we go out there we'll film it. But we helped Quentin's in-laws split boiler wood, and we had 36 inch, or not 36, we had 22 to 24 inch pieces we were putting in here. They were all very big, and we were just 4-way wedging them. That way they're nice big chunks for the boiler, so there's no resplitting. They were long, and doing that we could split 1 cord in 15 minutes because we filled up the dump trailer, like heaped it, and that's about 2 cords like piled high, and it took 30 minutes. And that was there was 4 people on the splitter. Me and Quentin were cutting, but one person was running the handles, one person was loading the logs, and they had to load the log every time with the log lift because the wood was so heavy, like it was really big. So that might have slowed them down a little bit as far as if somebody could have put the wood up here and not used the log lift, but that's what that's there for. But just for reference, it was quick. It filled up that dump trailer quick. Me and Quentin were cutting with the chainsaws, and we'd cut for a little while, and then I'd look up the dump trailer, and I'm like, holy crap, that thing is getting full, and we haven't been cutting that long. So I think the maximum production that you can get out of this thing is a face cord in 5 minutes. So maybe you could do 4 cords an hour with it. You need a conveyor. You need some willing people to just keep working, because this thing, it is fast and it will work you at an insane pace to keep up with it. So if you got people that work really fast and you got this fast splitter, you can put out a lot of wood. That's probably going to be it for today, guys. I've actually had to record this video 3 times because the first time the mic wasn't on, the second time it stopped recording after a minute, and now we're on the 3rd time. I'm tired of talking. You're probably tired of listening. So bottom line, the truth about this splitter is it's an excellent splitter. You should buy one. You won't be disappointed. Any splitter you buy that's commercial splitter, you're going to love, but this one in particular probably have a special place in your heart. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And like and follow, subscribe. You want to see more